Try this right now. Don't overthink it. Stand up from your chair without using your hands. Go ahead. I'll wait. If that felt harder than it should, that's exactly why you need to hear this. Most people think getting old is about birthdays. It's not. It's about what your body can still do without help. I'm 91 years old. I live alone. I cook my own breakfast every morning. I walk outside when the weather's decent. And when it's not, I walk inside like a bored cat. And yes, I can still stand up without grabbing onto something. That's not luck. And it's definitely not genetics. This morning looked like most mornings. I sat right here at this table, let my knees wake up for a second, then stood up slow and steady. No rush, no drama, just getting up. I cracked 2 eggs into a pan, nothing fancy. While they cooked, I looked outside to see if it was worth putting on a jacket or just pretending I'm tougher than I am. After breakfast, I moved. Not a workout, just movement. A short walk, a few squats holding on to the counter so I don't end up on the evening news. It doesn't look impressive. That's the point. I didn't start doing this because I was disciplined. I started because I saw what happens when people stop. I kept the spatula moving, but my mind went somewhere else. I was about your age when I first noticed it, not in myself. In my Aunt Rose. She lived down in Greenville, worked most of her life in a textile mill, always on her feet, strong legs, steady hands. The kind of woman who didn't sit unless she had a reason. Then she retired. At first, nothing looked wrong. She said she was just taking it easy. Drove instead of walking. Sat a little longer after meals. Skipped her usual routines. Normal stuff. Everybody does it. But that's how it starts. Quiet. No alarms. No doctor calling you in. When I'd visit, I noticed small things. She'd pause before standing, reach for the table, then the wall, then anything within arm's reach. Not every day, just enough that you start telling yourself it's nothing. A couple of years went by, and walking across her own living room took effort, not pain, not injury, just less strength than before. What stayed with me wasn't how she moved. It was how she stopped doing things. She didn't go outside much anymore, didn't walk to the mailbox, said it was too much trouble. No big event, no clear moment when everything changed, just a slow trade movement for comfort. And once you make that trade long enough, your body remembers it. I turned the heat down and leaned on the counter for a second. Back then, I told myself I wasn't going to end up like that. Sounded good, felt strong. But saying it and living it are two different things. I didn't wake up the next day and become disciplined. That's not how it works. There were winters I didn't feel like stepping outside. Cold air, stiff knees, dark mornings. I'd stand by the door and think, not today. Some days I listened to that voice. Some weeks I did. There were years when life got busy, kids, work bills. I ate whatever was quick, moved less than I should have, told myself I'd get back to it later. But I always came back, not to some perfect routine, just the basics. Eggs in the morning, something with protein at lunch, fish when I could afford it, greens when they looked decent at the store, and movement, not a workout, just using my legs on purpose. A short walk around the block when the weather cooperated. If it didn't, I paced inside, back and forth. Nothing exciting. Some mornings I'd hold the counter and do a few squats. Not deep, not pretty, just enough to remind my legs what they're supposed to do. I wasn't building anything fast. I was just not letting it disappear. That's the part people miss. They think it takes something big. It doesn't. It takes not stopping long enough for your body to forget. I slid the eggs onto the plate and sat down for a minute. Walter used to move faster than me. That man worked construction his whole life. Up at sunrise, carrying lumber like it was nothing. If you asked me back then, I would have said he'd outwalk both of us well into his 80s. Then he retired. He said the same thing most people say. I've worked enough. I'm going to take it easy. And honestly, I didn't argue much. Seemed fair. At first it looked like rest, sleeping in, sitting longer after breakfast, watching TV in the afternoon. Nothing unusual. Then little things started to show up. He'd slow down getting out of his chair, take the stairs one at a time. Some days he'd stop halfway up and pretend he was just catching his breath. There wasn't a moment where everything changed. It just shifted a little each year. By his mid-70s, stairs weren't just annoying. They were a problem. By the late 70s, he'd reach for my arm without saying anything. Not every day. Just enough that I noticed. He never complained. That was the hardest part. He'd just adjust. Sit more, move less. I saw the same thing with my friend Carol. She did everything right. Doctor visits, low cholesterol, all of it. But she drove everywhere, barely walked. Over time, she needed a walker. Then she moved into assisted living. My sister Linda was different. She liked her chair, her TV, her sweet tea. One fall in the bathroom, broken hip, surgery. She never really got her strength back after that. None of them planned for it. They just slowly stopped using what they had. I pushed the chair back and stood up again a little slower this time. That's the part nobody tells you. It doesn't fall apart all at once. It happens in pieces. A little less movement here, a little more sitting there. You don't notice it until you do. I'm 91 now. I don't walk as far as I used to. Some mornings my knees feel stiff, and I take my time getting started. But I still get up. I still cook. I still move. Not because I feel like it every day, because I know what happens when you don't. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. You don't need a big plan. You don't need perfect discipline. You need something small you can repeat. Every morning, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's boring, stand up without using your hands. Walk a little. Eat something that actually helps your body. Do it again tomorrow. That's it. That's the difference. Most people think they'll fix it later. I've seen how that goes. Later turns into never, and never shows up faster than you expect. If this story made you think even a little, then stay with me. This channel is built on real stories like this. Stories about life advice. Stories about advice from grandparents. Stories about life lessons that come from living long enough to see what actually works and what doesn't. If you want more of that, go ahead and subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because the small things you do tomorrow morning, they stay with you longer than you think.